from the NewsChannel 5 Network and Out and About newspaper. This is Out and About Today, sponsored by the Tennessee Performing Arts Center.
Hello, I'm Chuck Long, and welcome to Out and About Today. On tonight's show, Pam dives into all that's happening with the Nashville LGBT Chamber. But up first, a special preview of the Nashville Film Festival, which is celebrating its 49th year. Here with all the details, the festival's artistic director, Brian Owens. Great to have you back, Brian.
Always glad to be back, Chuck.
10 years for you with the film festival.
Yeah, this is my 10th year. It's kind of amazing to think it's been that long.
Amazing.
It feels like I moved here yesterday still.
And it feels like we just had you on. I mean, it goes so fast.
Oh, yeah.
10 years, we get you here every year.
Yeah, I'm always glad to.
Okay, so 49th year for the film festival. So kind of give me the headlines of what we can expect from this year's film festival.
Bigger and more. That's usually the way it goes. That's what we always try to do. But this year we're going to have a good number of world premieres, films that have not been seen by any audience anywhere until our audience has the chance to sit down and see them, including our opening night film, which is a documentary called Steven Tyler, Out on a Limb. Steven will be joining us.
Steven will be here.
Yes, yeah, he's here for the world premiere. He's going to do a little intro and Q&A after at least one of the screenings. We've already got 3 scheduled because we feel like it's probably going to sell pretty well. And there's also some great world premieres. There's a world premiere of a film called Mississippi Requiem with Topher Grace. World premiere of a comedy that was actually made here in town with John McGinley from Scrubs and Garrett Dillahunt from Raising Hope. So, you know, we're hoping, we don't have all the guests confirmed, but we're hoping that they'll be joining us as well.
How hard is it to get these world premieres? Because we've got a number of very, prestigious film festivals around the country. So do you really have to get in there early? What's the key to that?
Well, there's 2 things. One, doesn't make sense to world premiere it here, thus the Steven Tyler documentary, because it's about his solo tour and his first attempt at country music, and it makes sense to world premiere that here. And then a regional perspective, the one I mentioned, Mississippi Requiem, it's a Southern story, so they wanted to world premiere in at a Southern film festival, and we fit that regional bill. So it's things like that usually. We have a great documentary about Terrence McNally, the playwright.
Oh, yeah.
It's world premiering at Tribeca because that makes sense there, and then we'll actually be the 2nd screening in the world on that film. And we're satisfied with that. You know, I know that some of the bigger players always have to have world premieres and nothing but. I figure my audience won't care if the theater in New York or an audience in New York has already seen Every Act of Life, the Terrence McNally documentary. I think they'll just want to see it because they want to see the film.
Right,
so,
yeah. And what about as far as the people that watch all the movies that you guys get? How many people do you have doing that?
Yeah, we have over 100 people now who help us get through all of the films. They literally range in age from 16 to almost 90. They represent people of all different backgrounds, races, ethnicities, because we want to make sure that the group that's helping us build this represents a diverse community, the diverse community that Nashville is.
Which I always find fascinating, but kind of once you get all of these film submissions in, you've got over 100 people watching these, all ages, as you said. Then how do you end up saying these are the films that we are putting into the festival?
Well, that's when, they basically help us eliminate the stuff that's obvious, that's not going to make the festival. And then we hope that the next tier of people help take those decently made films, but push up the ones that are of the highest quality. And then when it gets there, that's up to me and then the programming staff. I've got a full-time programming assistant, 2 that come in and they work from January to the end of the festival and then help do wrap up. And then we also have programming interns, the several who come in. And we work together when the things get honed down, like for the narrative competition, we'll look at we have 15 that we pick. So we'll look at the 30 or so that made it all the way to the final spot. We'll look if 2 have a similar subject, we'll pick the one that's better. We'll look to make sure, when we had it down, like here's an idea for a lineup, but then we noticed that in that top 30 was a great film from South Africa that, when we made the first pass, it wasn't in the top 15, and that left no films from the African continent. And so we're like, clearly we're going to move that one in, because we want that type of diversity. So that's how we look at it. Really, when you got to those 30, there might be a few that really, really stand out, but they're all in a big tie.
Yeah.
So we want to look at that point and who's going to get the most voices. We're very aware now of also making sure that we have films from female directors, from directors of color. We want those stories in our festival, and LGBT cinema as well, obviously.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got quite a few to look at, so we're going to go ahead and start right now. One of these is After Louie. So let's take a look at some of the trailer, and then we'll talk about it on the backside, though. So this is After Louie. Take a look.
Try and make sense of this for me. No, it's a puzzle. I'm leaving you with a puzzle.
You scared me.
Can I sit here?
If you want to.
Why is there money in my shoe?
Well, we hadn't discussed it before, but I thought 500 for an overnight.
I have a present for you.
So I am dating a prostitute now.
An accidental prostitute.
All right, so what we see Alan Cummings in there.
Yes.
It looks very intriguing. So tell me a little bit about
Alan Cummings also an executive producer on the film, and it's a great story. As you can tell from the clip, it's about one generation, the generation who's lived through the AIDS crisis, and how the younger generation really has they don't have a memory of it. And it's about the importance of making sure that as we pass our stories down, that those stories about the people who we lost in the AIDS crisis and those who survived it, that those stories get passed down, and that young LGBT people know that past and know that history and know that struggle. I'm not saying that it's a perfectly comfortable life, but they certainly do have it more comfortable than we did, or I did at least in my time. Sure. And so it's kind of making sure that they know that people fought for the rights that we have today, and they fought through life and death situations. And but it all does it with there's some lightness to it. There's some humor to it as well. I mean, as you know, most of us, we do have pain and humor in our lives, and so it makes sure that it keeps the tone light when it needs to be, and also serious when it needs to be.
Excellent. Definitely going to put that one on the list to see. So after Louis, Alan Cummings, you saw in that. A lot more to look at, but we are going to take a short break right now. When we come back, more on the Nashville Film Festival. You're watching Out and About Today.